is going on, guys? There's been a rumor circulating around the Saints Row reboot that a certain someone might have had an influence on it. But did she really? Well, before I get into that and before I explain my thoughts about it, if you could like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Before I dive into this video, I just want to say that it was inspired by Yeller Flashes. I suggest you check his video out. It's pretty awesome. You see a Deep Silver developer kind of go on the offensive about the reboot, which is something I said was probably going to happen. But yeah, I'll leave a link for it down below if you guys want to watch it. That out of the way, with that little disclaimer out of the way, let's get down to my opinions. If you didn't know, Anita Sarkeesian is this batshit crazy feminist. This was my opinion from when I was a teenager, and to be honest, I believed in some pretty stupid things when I was that young. Kind of like that Santa Claus was real, but I'm half retarded, so don't judge me on that. So, wanted to, I guess, get a new perspective on her. I decided to look her up on the good old Google. And it was kind of hard to find anything bad about her, which sent off massive red flags for me. All these mainstream sites were talking about how she was this feminist that was taking on sexism in the video game industry, how she was calling out the sexism that was always in the video game industry, and how she was making men feel uncomfortable, and she was making the video game industry a more welcoming place for women, which is complete and utter horseshit. She has done a lot more to damage the video game industry than she has done help it. And when I started finding the bad stuff out about her, when I started seeing the articles that were criticizing her, this became a lot more apparent. Anita Sarkeesian's whole personality is this woe is me bullshit. She always has to be the victim in whatever situation she is. It's what she got famous for. It's how she makes her money. And I don't like people like that. I think I don't like, fucking, you're the victim, boo fucking who. Do something to fix it. And Anita Sarkeesian is making a problem where there really isn't none. And to show you what type of person Anita Sarkeesian is, I'm going to tell you just a couple of things that she's done. One thing she has done was that she had claimed that she had received death threats. The news kind of picked this up, and there was going on it like the mainstream fucking media does, right? She's a feminist. They like that shit. So they're saying that the male gamers couldn't handle it, that it was trolls sending her death threats. They were sending her rape threats, which, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if she got a few, because there's some people in the video game industry that are just fucking idiots, right? But that's with any industry out there. But the cops investigated these death threats, and they had found them non-credible. All right, so that's one thing she has done. Number two is that she thinks sexism against men is perfectly fine. She thinks that it is perfectly acceptable to be sexist towards men, and that sexism towards men doesn't exist, which is more horse shit. Number three, she gives off this false impression that women are not welcomed in the video game industry, which is not the case. She has done so much to damage the video game industry. She made it seem that all male gamers were sexist, that we don't want women in the industry, that as soon as a woman comes into the video gaming world, we all fucking jump on her and beat the shit out of her and tell her to get the fuck out of here. That isn't the case. I can't stand people who do this. She fucking misconstrues, I know I pronounced that wrong, situations to fit her own narrative, and it's absolutely horrible, and it makes her a shitty person. But to give you more information about her, I'm going to show you a tweet right now. This fucking lunatic, despite all the evidence saying the contrary, thinks that Johnny Depp was guilty. He thinks that Amber Heard was abused. It doesn't surprise me with her. She is the type of person that will believe women as long as it's a woman that is saying something. Doesn't matter how outlandish the fucking claim is, she'll be right there saying, yeah, oh yeah, she said she's seen aliens come down. Oh yeah. She's right. She's not wrong. She's right. Why? Because she's a woman. But then a man could say the same thing. A man could be like, yeah, I saw that too, right? I saw the aliens, I saw the UFOs come down, you know, we were talking, we smoked a joint, we were hanging out, we were having fun. And she'd be like, you're a fucking liar. Why are you lying? Huh? Are you sexist? That's what it is, isn't it? You're sexist. That's exactly what it is. You're just looking for attention. You're male whore. It's the type of person that Anita Sarkeesian is. If that isn't bad enough, I'm going to tell you something funny here, okay? What could be more ironic than bullying a content creator that was on the same panel as you at a convention that was talking about anti-bullying? Yeah. With that little information out of the way, but I wanted to tell you these things just to give you a little more background about her in case you didn't know who she was. Because it is kind of tricky to find this information. You kind of have to search through other YouTube videos to find it. Go to places that's not the mainstream media, because if you search your name up in Google, fucking the first like 4 pages is all these mainstream news sites praising her. All that stuff. So with that out of the way, let's get down to the question of this video. Did she influence the Saints Row reboot? So in order to find the answer to the question I had to do a bit of digging. So I started with the article that Yeller Flash showed in his video. It is by Polygon and it is from September 1st, 2014. As we can see here, it's talking about Anita Sarkeesian. I believe I said that name right. And the creative director pretty much said that she was right. She had this I guess you can say, I don't know, YouTube series called Tropes versus Women, which she overanalyzes everything and nitpicks at like every little fucking thing and says that it is sexist about video games and in video games and all that stuff. And in one of these videos, if you can even call them that, she went ahead and she had called out apparently Saints Row for being sexist. But she didn't really, but at the same time, she kind of did. So in response to getting called out, Steve Jowers said this: I actually think Chope vs. Women's creator Anita Sarkeesian is right in this case. So the video that she made was I don't know, like the second video in this series she did, and it was talking about violence on women in video games, which, you know, she really nitpicked here. This is the video right here. I watched this entire video and I really wish I didn't. It's horrible. I'm not saying that because of the subject matter it's covering. I mean, Anita Sarkeesian, she can't present for shit. She's absolutely horrible at it. Along with that, she nitpicks at every little fucking detail, man. If there's something that happens to a woman in a video game that's violence, she says it's sexist. She says that it's there to kind of promote violence on women, to glorify it. To show how bad she nitpicks, she went ahead and she called out Assassin's Creed Brotherhood for exactly this, when that isn't the case. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood definitely doesn't glorify violence on women. It's nuts. And you can see here, this little collage she has here, some of the other games she called out during this video. Do not watch it. It is absolutely fucking horrible. And I don't know, I just wish that I had some fucking, that little thing from the Men in Black kind of rape your memory, because I really could have done not watching this video. If this video actually wasn't that old, I probably would make a separate video going through it and debunking all the fucking crazy shit she says in it. But I'm sure somebody has already done that, and in all honesty, I don't know, I fucking wouldn't want to watch this video again to do it. But I did watch the entirety of this video, which I found very difficult to do. but I never actually heard her call out Saints Row by name, other than showing this little collage with the Saints Row game on it. So I don't know if she actually did call it out, because I'll be honest, I was struggling not to choke myself fucking out because of how horrible this video was. So she might have actually did call it out, and I might just have glossed over it. But whatever, it is what it is. And this brings us back to the Polygon article where Steve Jarvis, the creative director at the time for Deep Civil Violation, which I'm going to call DSV from now on, said that he agrees with Anita Sarkeesian, which I don't know. I think it's complete bullshit. So we see here, he says he actually thinks that Chopes versus Roman creator Anita Sarkeesian is right in this case. And then he says this: I think we try to go and carry ourselves with respect and try to respect sexuality and respect gender as much as we can. And sometimes we fail, but hopefully we'll do better and continue to get better. So this whole thing, right? Like I said, the whole video is pretty much her talking about violence on women in video games, and it's pretty much exactly what the title is women as background decorations. And I think this point, Steve Jaros, I believe that's his name. Yeah, Steve Jaros. Steve Jaros is kind of bullshitting here, because that's really never been the case in the Saints Row games. So Saints Row 1, we had Lynn, who played a pretty big part in taking down the roller. She ended up dying, but I mean, it's not like she was just there just to be there. Saints Row 2, we had Shandi. I don't even have to get into that. Shandi, I absolutely love the character of Shandi. She helped. If it wasn't because of her, the Saints wouldn't have been where they were. Right? They wouldn't have taken over Stillwater. They wouldn't have taken over Steelport. She was an integral part to the Saints Row gang. Then, even in Saints Row the Third, right, we have Kenzie, who it's another character I like. Right? She's funny, and I just really enjoyed her. So I don't know if back in 2014, Steve Jarvis was just looking to kind of get some clout, trying to get some free publicity. But whatever, right? That's I guess you can say that is neither here nor there. So the next thing I did was search up to see whether Steve Jarvis was still at Deep Civil Violation, and he wasn't. He left a while back and he moved over to Valve. So that should have been it, right? I mean, if he wasn't there, then maybe what people were saying about Anita Sarkeesian was false. Maybe she didn't influence the Saints Row reboot. Maybe that people were seeing this article and not reading the date and was just getting it confused. Or they could have just thought that since Anita Sarkeesian did influence other games like The Last of Us, that she could have possibly been responsible for the Saints Row reboot. But I wasn't going to leave it at that, because I am a curious little bastard, and once I have my nose in something, I just want to sniff it all day. So I went ahead and I searched up who the writers were for the Saints Row reboot, and this is what we got here. So the writers were Jackie Hennick, I don't know, I can't pronounce that name, and Jason Scott. So searching these guys up, I found out that Jason Scott and Jackie, I pronounced that name wrong, guys, I'm sorry, have been around Deep Silver Violation for a while. Like, since the first couple of Saints Row games. Or actually, since the first Saints Row games. This would mean that they were around when Steve Jarvis had made that statement to Polygon. And all this here, it brings us to my answer of this video. Did Anita Sarkeesian actually have any influence on the Saints Row reboot? Well, I think this is a two-part answer. The first part is yes. I think it is very possible that she did. I think that Steve Jarvis had a team, and if he was influenced by her, more than likely he tried to pass these beliefs on his team, which could have infected the writers, which is why we could have got the Saints Row reboot that we got. I also believe that Anita Sarkeesian was one of the people that was a stepping stone for this PC woke culture that we see today. And this was the exact type of audience that DSV was going for with this reboot. But the second part of this answer is no. I don't think she had any direct influence on the game in the terms of her going up to the developers of this game and saying, hey guys, you need to change this, you need to change that, because, if you don't, you guys are all sexist. I don't think she did that. But like I said before, I think that she helped form the culture that inspired the Saints Row reboot, this PC woke culture that we see. And back in the early, I guess, not early, but mid 2010s now, like 2015, 2016, all that stuff, there's a lot of people like her that would have been responsible for the politically correct fucking bullshit woke culture that we see today. And yeah, I think they're probably just as much as responsible for influence the Saints Row reboot as she is. With that being said, Anita, she's a piece of trash human being. There's no other way to say this. She makes up non-existent facts to support her arguments, and it's like when you listen to her, it's like listening to CNN or Fox News. If she does say anything that is true, she muddles it. She tries to put her own narrative on it. For example, if there's a video game where the main character saves a female, instead of going on about, like, yeah, this is like the main character was so heroic and that saved the female. He went ahead, he was a real gentleman. You know what? He walked her home, didn't even expect anything afterwards. Instead of kind of doing this, instead of focusing on that point, which she would never do, she would rather focus on the point, well, why was the female in danger in the first place? You want to know why? Well, I'll tell you why. The video game industry, they're sexist. All of them. They're all sexist devils. That's what she would do. Which, it's kind of looking at everything and seeing red. I I think Anita has so much hatred in her heart that it's not funny. And if you ask me, the only people who do find her appealing are those that have sniffed that much gas that all their brain cells have died off. But with that being said, I do not think that she directly influenced this game. Now, I may be wrong. Maybe she did talk to the developers of this reboot. I'm not sure if that is the case. Like, let me know down in the comment section, right? I'm not going to say I don't like being wrong, so I'm not going to say that, because that would come out really fucked up, and that wouldn't be what I meant. So what I will say is this: I don't like spreading misinformation. So if I do get something wrong, I would like to correct it. So if that is the case, you guys let me know down below, right? You guys tell me, like, hey, like, Gamer Geek, this is wrong. She actually did talk to the developers of the reboot. This is what she said. This developer had come out and said that he was inspired by her. All that stuff, right? Let me know if I'm wrong, and I'll correct that information if I can. But with all this being said, that's just my opinion. That's this whole video, right? It's my opinion. I don't like Anita Sarkeesian. I think she is very entitled, and she has this huge victim complex. But in case you guys didn't know, I'm Gamer Geek. If you could like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Peace out.